a big good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to transition to university. You're highly welcome, and I thank you so much for your patience for waiting for us to get started. My name is Dr. Urena Vivian Adigbotolu, and I am the AFB UK NextGen coordinator, and I will be your host today. So just right before we start, we just have a few housekeeping. First and foremost, I'll just like us to unmute our mics and only unmute when you're asked to. And then just kindly type into the chat box right now where you're joining us from. That would be very, very nice if you can do that for us. And please, as the presentations are going on, as the discussions are going on, if you have any questions, kindly pop them into the chat box for us, okay? So just before we start, we just have a little bit of icebreaker, if I may call it that. We would just like you to quickly type into the chat box how your transition to university was when you did transit. For those who have higher education degrees, how was it for you? Were you excited, or were you anxious, or were you both? And just tell us why. I guess for me, as an individual, I was very excited. I was looking forward to the journey. I was looking forward to the new course. I was looking forward to new friendships and, you know, getting on in life, getting to a higher level. So for me, I was really excited. So I don't know about you, so I would just like you to pop that into the box to be nice for us to just interact and find out how the journey was for each and every one of us. Good, good, good. So quickly before we start, I would like to introduce AFB UK to you. AFB UK is an organization, a non-profit organization, which was started in the year 2007 under the leadership of our co-founders, Dr. Nike Folayon, MBE, and Dr. Oli Falayon. AFBE UK actually works to promote higher achievement in STEM education and engineering, especially for ethnic minority groups and disadvantaged people. AFBE UK is made up of different arms, such as Making Engineering Hot, NextGen, the Transition Program, Real Projects, Mentoring, and the Leadership Program. The STEM outreaches to primary schools and secondary schools are called Making Engineering Hot in England, and in Scotland it's called NextGen. The aim of these two programs is to increase the number of school children who eventually become engineers or choose a STEM profession as their future career. We achieve this through school STEM awareness programs, employability programs, and most recently during this lockdown through our online STEM outreaches, which has attracted our worldwide audience. So we're really happy with that. So at this school event, we usually showcase different engineering models. I'm sure for some of us, you may have attended one or two of those events, and then you'll be able to testify to that. I know Dami has attended one of such. You know, we showcase different models and how they work. You know, we also showcase different STEM careers and their importance to everyday life, and how STEM professionals work together with different professional skills. In Scotland, NextGen program which started in 2015, has reached out to about 2,000 students so far, and Making Engineering Hot program has reached out to many more thousands of students. The programs have helped demographically disadvantaged children gain insight into STEM, and we have recorded loads of testimonies of children whose lives have been transformed, you know, as a result of taking part in making engineering hot and NextGen programs. In fact, some of them have transitioned onwards to the transition program of the AFBE, as well as real projects. And some of them have actually gone on to join the leadership program, which is for empowering professionals to attain great heights in their roles in the industry. So AFBE UK wouldn't be able to achieve this great success without the solid support and joint effort of our students, professional and corporate members, as well as the local councils that support our different activities. So back to the reason why we are here today. Indeed, this is the time of the year when people are so excited to take a quantum leap from secondary school to higher education, be it university, be it college, and be it the graduate apprenticeship program. And I am so super excited for you all who have made it, thus far. And AFBE UK congratulates you on your success. But while this might be a time of joy for some people, it might not be for some others. As you all know, in the UK this year, there were no GCSEs exams, there were no A-levels or higher examinations conducted because of the coronavirus pandemic. And as a result, the grades of students were predicted using algorithms at first, and then due to government intervention, the teachers' predictions were now used for the grading of the students, as well as some other parameters which were used. And we here in AFBE UK acknowledge the fact that this has not favored some students, especially those in demographically disadvantaged areas. And for those who have been impacted by this incident, we in AFBE UK need you to know that this is not the end of the world. We all go through ups and downs in life. This incident cannot define you. It might just be the platform that will make you great in life. So never ever give up on your dreams. Treat this season as a blessing in disguise. There are lots of opportunities out there for you, for people ages 16 and above, for you to explore. So consider applying for virtual internships through, for example, the Oil and Gas Technology Center, that's OGTC, through Shell, and other companies out there. So just go online and search for those opportunities, and you'll find yourself doing something worthwhile, gaining some useful work experience. Also search and apply for graduate apprenticeship programs in the industry of your choice. So you can do this by going to the government website, and this will afford you both, work experience and a degree while working. You can also apply for the NEET Kickstart program for those who have no formal education and those who also are looking for, jobs where they can gain some practical skills. Also use this opportunity as a driving force to develop yourself. So you can find yourself a mentor. You can contact AFBE UK through mentoring@afbe.org.uk and seek for a mentor. You can also get mentors through the mentoring app of the OGTC. You can do that by going to the Play Store or the Apple Store to find these people. You can also get mentored by reading biographies of people who have made it in life. For example, we have a young man who wrote the book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. His name is William. You can read about him and how he turned a negative situation in his life and his nation around. So please stay flexible. For example, if you don't get the course of your choice, just try out what you have. There might be a gem in there. And you can also consider volunteering for charities and become a STEM ambassador as well, if you wish. So remember, AFBE UK is solidly behind you, and we look forward to supporting you when you contact us. So for those who have also been affected by these low grades, we just want to plead with the parents and guidance to please support your children and ward with kind and positive words of affirmation, give them positive guidance, even as they go through this this stage of emotional and emotional roller coasters and low self-esteem. They need your support greatly. So please support them. I know you're already doing that, so we just encourage you to continue to do that. Thank you very much. So back to the reason why we're here today. Today we'll be discussing transition to university for those moving from secondary school to the university. And with me here is a panel of experienced university students and university alumni who are going to be giving you their best advice and tips for higher education success. Dear speakers, you're all welcome, and we are so honored to have you here today. So I'll just quickly start with Awini. If you could just unmute your mic, and if you would kindly introduce yourself, tell us how you got into the university and how you felt going through the transition, from secondary school to university.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a really great introduction. But yeah, hi everyone. I'm Awini. Currently, so okay, I'll start from the beginning. So I grew up in Hertfordshire, and I went to it was a pretty good state school. So I had really good support, educational support going through secondary school. And yeah, I guess I was pretty good at school, so I was getting good grades, and my teachers at my school were very equipped to helping kids apply to Oxbridge. So in fact, I never thought I was going to apply to Oxbridge, but I applied to Oxford with like a week till the deadline. I was like, do you know what? Okay, yeah, just let me just add to the list. So I applied for chemical engineering at my other universities, but Oxford only does general engineering, so I applied for it there. And then it came around to A-level results, and I was 1 mark off my A star that I needed to get into my Oxford offer. So yeah, fingers crossed. I put in an application for an appeal for them to remark it, and I actually got that grade. So it was a real close call getting into Oxford, but I did, and I'm very grateful for that. And the transition was interesting. So growing up in Hertfordshire, I'm already in a predominantly white community, so I wasn't too worried about that going into Oxford. But the whole transition, just going from secondary school to university in itself, it's a big jump in the learning style. At school, you can be a bit more lazy about it because you've got teachers knocking on your door like every week. Okay, where's this work? This is what you need to do. But in university, it's a bit more self-led. So I think that was probably my biggest difficulty in transitioning, but it ended up okay. It ended up really well. So yeah, now I'm working at WSP as a systems engineer, and I've been there for 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm doing a master's at the moment. So I'm doing that through the apprenticeship scheme. So I'm doing a part-time master's in systems engineering with Cranfield University. So it's taking me back to university, and it's difficult. The transition back from work to university is also hard. So yeah, you'll learn a lot of skills.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction. Absolutely brilliant. Shows that we should always try, when we think something is not possible, just give it the extra push and you might get it, who knows, So I'm very encouraged by that thing you said there. I'll just call on Martin just now to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying the sort of long bank holiday weekend. So at the moment, I'm a PhD student in chemical engineering. I'm at UCL. I have always stayed at uni since I left school, so I never have gone into work at the moment. For me, it was quite an unorthodox route. So I initially wanted to apply for medicine. I was unsuccessful. I had no offers, but I didn't give up hope. And so I think the message to those students out there who don't have any offers, or who are not going to university this year perhaps, is don't lose hope. I didn't lose hope. I focused on my A-levels, got the grades I needed, and went on to do chemistry at King's. And really enjoyed it and never looked back. I then decided to do a master's in chemical process engineering at UCL, and I'm now doing a PhD. I've never looked back. I've never sort of reconsidered my options. I've just kept on going and sought opportunities along my way. I mean, perhaps I could have gone into work after my master's, but there was such an exciting PhD opportunity that I just couldn't let go of. And that's what led me here. Thanks.
Fantastic. So there again, that message, don't give up, never give up. That's fantastic. Thank you, Martin. We would call on Dami to introduce himself. Dami, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dami Bailey, and my transition to university was somewhat convoluted. I was very playful in secondary school, so I couldn't go straight to uni. So I had to go through college. And then I sat up in college, did well, and then went to university. So 2+2 scheme, but the playfulness hadn't left me at that point. So I failed my first attempt at uni, and then I went back again to another university to do my undergrad in mechanical engineering. Did that, and then did advanced mechanical engineering in Cranfield. So yeah, that was my journey. It taught me a lot about myself, about intestinal fortitude, about the need to remain focused. So I enjoyed it. I've learned so much about myself and about the world. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, Dami. So yeah, we have to stay focused. Fantastic. So we'll just move on to Florian. If you could just unmute and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Florian. I am on a master's course, so an integrated master's in manufacturing and mechanical engineering at Warwick. So I have done 3 years, currently on a placement at GlaxoSmithKline, and then we'll be going back to finish my final year after this academic year. So it's a bit of a long university course, but not exactly what I imagined myself doing when I finished A-levels. So did A-levels, didn't get the grades I was hoping for, ended up in clearing, thought my life was over, cried for a day and a half, and then realized that sometimes things happen for a reason and opportunities are presented to you in ways that you may not have necessarily imagined them to first appear. So I took my clearing offer from Warwick and I haven't looked back. I have enjoyed it so much. I look at the things that I've managed to do over the first 3 years and look at where I am now and where I'm heading. And I think if I had gone somewhere else, maybe I wouldn't necessarily be in this place, be as happy as I am, be as successful as I am. So my biggest message is probably that clearing is not the be all and end all. There is no straight way to go into anything, especially engineering, because there are so many career paths that you can take to end up in the same place. So for me, clearing was a scary thing at first, because I think at school you're kind of told to avoid it. It's not great, especially if you're someone who smashes your GCSEs and does really well. Wasn't expecting to end up in clearing, but I think if you really take stock of the opportunities that are available to you and keep open-minded, you will probably end up somewhere that's going to get you to the exact same place that you had originally planned, just maybe slightly differently. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, that was my transition to uni.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll just call on Tosin. Tosin, yeah, fantastic. Tosin.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name's Tosin. So I'm going to talk. Let me start from the beginning. So I went to a school in Ilford. I did pretty well for my GCSEs, which allowed me to go to a pretty well-known state school for sixth form, which was quite known for getting people into Oxford and Oxford, Cambridge, and all the Russell Group universities. So I think that was really helpful for me. It really, I think in terms of me, just in terms of working hard, it really helped me be around like-minded people. So I didn't get my first choice. I ended up going to my backup option, which I think ultimately was probably the better option for me, because I think if I got my first choice, I would have stayed in London. But I think moving to, so I go to the University of Manchester now and I do mechanical engineering. But I think the move to Manchester really helped me just grow as a person. And I don't think I would have had so much growth if I was confined to kind of living with my parents. So I I think it just goes to show that even though you might not get your first choice, things might not go necessarily how you wanted it to go, it can still turn out well in the end. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tosin. It's just the same thing Florian had also said. You know, you guys are just speaking from the same point of view, and that's great. Just to let young people know that things might not really work as you've planned, but there might be a germ in there. Yeah. So I'll just call on Victoria to quickly introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I am Victoria Bola-Okerinde. I currently work as a public health officer, and my journey is quite similar to quite a lot of our speakers today. So initially, I wanted to be a medical doctor. That was my goal from a very young age, and that kind of reflected in the subjects that I took for Scottish Highers or A-level in England. And yeah, I got my results and I was very, very disappointed. My results meant that I could not apply to medical school immediately. And on results day, I thought my life was over and I cried. But soon after, I looked and researched and I thought, what can I do to get back on this journey to go into med school? And then I decided to apply for biomedical sciences, and I got in my first choice with the belief that after biomed I would apply for medical school. And fourth year came, and I decided I didn't want to do medicine anymore. So I had to go through that whole process of researching, asking questions, really asking myself what I wanted to do, what my vision was for my career, and I found out about public health. So soon after graduating from biomedical sciences, I went straight into a master's for public health, and that has led me to my current career, my current position, which is working as a public health officer in a local authority. I learned a lot from my journey, you know, transitioning into university and doing a master's. And what I can say is research, ask a lot of questions. I think that's really, really important because a lot of people have gone ahead of you, and they may have similar stories to you or different, and you can learn from that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Victoria. So the general view here is never give up, hold on to your dreams, and just be flexible. You might discover a gem out there which you were not hoping to see. So we'll just go quickly into the next question. And this question here is for Florian. So based on, you know, with your wealth of experience, which you've gathered over the years, you know, from university, I was just wondering, what advice would you give to yourself, you know, with respect to university registration? You know, when you first get into school, all the different registrations you have to do, such as the university registration, bank registration, GP registration, getting sorted out the accommodation, library use, university clubs, gym, and volunteering. What kind of advice would you give to your younger self, and what advice are you going to be giving to our freshers today?
So I think for most people going to university, it's the first time you're going to meet such a wide range of people in such a short space of time, and it can be quite an overwhelming experience in some ways. And I think first and foremost, you must always look after yourself, always check in with yourself, make sure that you're well, that your mental health is okay, that you're looking after yourself, because you can go through that roller coaster of 3 to 5 years of university and it can just overcome you, and then you forget about, oh, I've got to be a person and take time to rest and see my friends and family. So that's the biggest thing, first and foremost. But I think it's a learning curve in terms of you've got your independence for once, and you're living by yourself, you're cooking by yourself, you're managing your finances for the first time. For a lot of you, you might start a job. So I think in order, make sure you record things. So when you get to adult life, you start to realize that you have to write things down. You can't memorize everything. Put things into your calendar if you have to. Write things down in a little notebook. Make sure that when you're doing your registrations, you're methodical and you're ticking everything off. Have all your information I had friends who came to uni with no form of ID. That is a big mistake. Bring a passport, bring a driving license, bring something, because you will need it to register for your bank. You'll need it to prove your proof of identity when you're enrolling. So just have things like that. So you know you're on the right course and you know you can look after yourself. In terms of choosing your accommodation, my biggest thing is to just make sure you have something that fits within your budget. So have a frank discussion with your parents, with your guardian, whoever it is that you're living with at the moment. Think about how much money have you got coming in, how much money are you going to have coming out, are you going to be able to afford everything? And as much as shared bathrooms sound really scary and everyone wants an ensuite, they tend to be slightly more expensive. And I lived in a shared bathroom accommodation in first year with, it was 15 people in a kitchen, which was an interesting experience, but that's how you get to know people and that's how you get to meet loads and loads of people. And a lot of the people that I lived with in the first year, I'm still friends with now, 3 years later. So I would say be open-minded. So be open-minded about where you might end up living, be open-minded about the friends you might make. Because I found myself often the only Black girl in the room. Sometimes that can be quite daunting. You just have to remember that you're there for a reason and that you're there to connect and make networks and get to know different types of people. So in terms of that, definitely look out for that. Also use the library. I don't know why, but first years don't seem to use the library. It's like your favorite place at university by the time you finish. It's got so many resources, so many books. The librarians are there to help you. So learn how to use the library first of all, and then make sure you use it for all your assignments, because I can't tell you how useful it is and how it can be the difference between a 2-1 and a first in an assignment. And in terms of societies and university clubs and groups, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to develop your skills, prove that you can do certain things on your CV, and also get to know different types of people, develop your hobbies. So I would recommend making sure that you take up a wide range of activities. So do an academic society, but then if you can, do a sports or dance or music, just so you have that work-life balance and you get to know people from different areas and you're not stuck with just the people from your course, because I can tell you now, you will probably be fed up with them by the end of the degree. But yeah, if you can do that, do get involved. I took on some committee positions during my time at university, and honestly, it's so much fun. You learn how to, it feels like managing a business sometimes. You learn how to manage society finances, how to engage with members, how to work as a team. If you become president or vice president, suddenly you're responsible for this huge club of people who are expecting certain things from you. So that's the type of responsibility that you can really get yourself involved with, just for personal development, but also to have that on your CV. And I think where you can, take advantage of the student facilities, especially for like the gym, sports clubs. They are great. Usually they are discounted, which is great. Take advantage of all those student discounts because they don't last forever and things are expensive in life. And then volunteer for causes that you care about. I can't stress this enough. Don't volunteer for things just because you think it will look good on your CV, because when you go to an interview and talk about it, if you're not passionate about it, the interviewer will know. So volunteer for things that you care about. Be a STEM ambassador if that's what you care about. If you want to go and help kids in school learn how to code, do that. There are so many opportunities. You just have to look, keep an eye out, research, read the emails that the university sends you. They get annoying at first, but they are there to give you valuable information. If you read them, there's usually little things that you miss out if you hadn't. So yeah, what I will say is that it will be overwhelming. There'll be an information overload, a people overload. Just make sure you look after yourself, write everything down, take stock of what opportunities are there, and then learn to pick and choose what works for you. Because I think if you can learn to do that now at university, the further on in life, it's an important skill to have, understanding work-life balance and how to be independent. So that is my advice.
Thank you so much, Florian. We are so pleased with that. I know one of the main points I picked out there was the use of the library. And just like you said, lots of first-year students don't seem to know the real importance of the library. I remember when I went to uni, I found the library very useful, and most especially for getting my coursework done, because the librarians are actually able to put you through, use of Google search for your research. And I found that really, really important to my success in uni. And they also help you with plagiarism. Plagiarism is an issue, a major issue in university, because when you do your coursework, they want to ensure that you're not copying anybody verbatim. So they always check using special softwares called plagiarism softwares to see if you've actually done your coursework by yourself. So you have to be careful about plagiarism. And one of the first places to go to is to the library, so that the librarians will teach you how to use those softwares in checking your work, so you can get your best grade and not be charged, for plagiarism. So that's great, Florian. Martin, Florian has actually elaborated on the registration process and what's expected. I just want you at this point, to talk about the class, the life, after registration, which has to do with the classroom. From your experience, what are the best strategies for excelling in class and in coursework, especially with respect to daily preparation, writing your courseworks, and reacting to results? Over to you, Martin.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there are many things I've learned over these last 6 years. I'll be honest with you, when I started uni, I wasn't so proactive and I didn't take notes down as much as I would have liked. I mean, when you start uni, if you go into a STEM discipline, you'll have a mixture of lectures, perhaps lab work, perhaps seminar sessions, tutorials, and it can be a bit overwhelming at first, going into that sort of the difference between school, which was just lessons every day, and then having to actually get to lectures and seminars and labs in uni. It can be a very different sort of shift in mindset. But some of the things I would sort of recommend to all of you is making sure that you read through the slides before you actually get there. So when the lecturers usually give out their slides before you turn up, and that's the optimal time to actually sit down and go through the content before. It will be really common that you will find it difficult, and there'll be parts that you won't understand. That's going to be expected. But if you go through your lecture slides, when you come around to sitting for your exams and revising, you'll find that you've retained a lot more than if you, let's say, go to the lecture and haven't gone through the slides. When it comes down to coursework, I would approach it by scheduling your work. So knowing what courseworks you have from which modules and planning your work according to that. And understanding the requirements of each coursework. So certain courseworks will be essay-based, certain courseworks will be calculation-based, certain courseworks will comprise the entire module. There'll be design projects and engineering degrees. Certain courseworks will just take up about 10 to 20% of each module, and the rest will be the exam. But it's important to know what you've got out there. So you've got, as has been mentioned, the library, you've got books, you've got resources online, you've got Google Scholar, Scopus. These are all search engines which you can use to sort of look at journals and find them. And then also you have the module leader. Let's say there's a question in the coursework which you don't quite understand. You can arrange an appointment, I'm so sure about this, with your lecturer and discuss a question. Very few university students will actually use that helpline. And then it's about avoiding plagiarism, and that's been touched upon just before. And that's a really big issue at university, and it can cost you the module. You don't want to end up there. And it's about how to cite sources properly and correctly, and how to avoid it by using, as has been said, these plagiarism checkers. I think one of the main ones is Turnitin. Maybe some people will agree or disagree. Turnitin is a sort of engine that sort of determines whether or not you've plagiarized, whether or not you've copied texts from journal papers. And it's a really important skill to get into early on, so that when you do submit those big sort of projects later on in your third and fourth year, that you're avoiding all sorts of plagiarism and you're citing each source properly and correctly as it should be.
Wow. Fantastic, fantastic, Martin. That was well said, spot on. Yeah, just like you said, scheduling is really important so that, you know, the freshers can manage their time between coursework and class time. And, you know, it's just really, really important. But we'll just call on Tosin right now. Martin has elaborated on the life in class, but we know after classes, comes examinations and sometimes tests. So examinations, as we already know, are times of great tension because every student wants to excel, wants to succeed in their examination. So Tosin, what is your best advice for examination preparation, writing the exam, and reaction to examination results, be it good or unpleasant? Over to you, Tosin.
I think prior to actually having your exams, I think what's really important is actually doing, like, understanding the content beforehand. Because what I've noticed a lot of people do is when it comes to the exam period, they're trying to learn this, they're trying to learn the stuff they should have known before at that point. That's really the time to really be going over what you've already known. Another thing that I've noticed that I feel you should always know when your exams are, because I think some exams need more work than other exams. So I think it's important to know what type of exam it is. I think maybe not necessarily doing the exam, not necessarily doing the paper first, but looking at a paper to see what type of exam, what type of questions you're going to get. I think what helped me especially at university, was one thing I really noticed was not everyone's doing the same course as you. So people's the amount of effort they're putting in is not going to be the same as yours. So I think it's important to stay focused. It takes a bit of willpower, because it's quite difficult, like, trying to study when you're seeing other people going out partying. It's quite difficult. So I think it's really important that you just like understand why you're there and have that willpower. I think another thing for me is, I think finding the right place that you need to revise, to study, whether it is the library, maybe it's in your room, but finding the place you feel most comfortable. I think that's really important. Because for me, I think in my first year, I was studying in 4 or 5 different places until I found the right place that I felt that I was being the most productive. So I think that really helped for me. In terms of writing the actual exams, so the majority of my exams are usually have been calculation based. And I think what helped me with those type of exams was doing past papers. I know that, but for other certain modules, they don't give you the result, the solution. So that might be a bit difficult doing past papers. But I think just having that practice is really helpful. So when I got into the exam, I already knew what type of things to expect. I think what's really important is, I think some of the basic things you do in even A-level, I think having a watch, not relying on the clock in the room, because sometimes it might be too far. They might not even have a clock. You don't want to risk any of that. So I think it's really important for just to maybe have a watch, have your water. I don't know if this is true, but someone told me that having a banana is a good thing to have, because it releases energy slowly. So I always have a banana before exam as well. So in terms of my actual results in university I've been very good at so far. So I'm going into my 3rd year now. So for first year, I did pretty well, and then second year it was a bit different because of the pandemic and everything. I only did my exams in January, but I didn't really do my exams in which would have been the spring exams. But I think even though I didn't do them, I think what it taught me, I think just looking at, just from the content, what I learned was that I think you can expect things to get harder, but what I'd just say, even if you don't do well, I think it's not the end. It's not the end of the world. You still have time to improve, and especially because most exams, only a small fraction of your overall grade in university. As the years go on, the amount your course is worth usually increases. So in first year, it might not be that much. So I don't think you should panic too much if you don't do as well as you don't do as well as you want to. But also saying that if you do well, I think what's important is not to get complacent. I think a lot of people get complacent. They do well maybe in first year, and then they're not ready for the jump from first year to second year. So I think it's really important just to stay on top of things, not get complacent, and just keep working hard.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tosin. That was fantastic. In fact, while you were speaking, I was just thinking about what you had said about reading before the examination date, because it's really, really important to, accumulate the knowledge over a longer period of time, rather than waiting to rush at the last minute. And you also said it's also right to find the best place where you can study, so that you're able to assimilate more and memorize, or have in your memory the actual answers you'll be given on the day of examination, or even in the future when perhaps you go for an interview or you find such questions being asked to your place of work. So yeah, I think you've just spoken so well. Thank you so, so much. I would call on Victoria. I have a question for you here. And, just like the saying goes, health is wealth. As a public health officer, and from your experience when you were in university, I'll just ask, what are your best tips for maintaining physical, mental, emotional, or psychological health while combining studying, part-time work, and rest? Victoria, please.
I'll try and answer it as best as I can. In terms of physical health, I would say eating healthy. I know as a student, sometimes it's easy to just grab anything, the cheapest stuff, junk food, but it's really important to actually watch what you're taking in, because that does impact your mood. Sometimes if you're eating really unhealthy, then you may feel a bit lethargic in the morning, and you have lectures and stuff like that. So it's actually emphasizing and looking at what you're eating. Another tip would be to kind of exercise, and it doesn't have to be the gym. I think the university kind of gives you quite a lot of opportunities to exercise. So by joining like sports clubs, you could even decide to walk instead of take the bus. And the sports clubs are a really great opportunity to actually meet people as well. And the reason why I highlighted exercise, because it really helps your mood. It also helps your confidence. And eating healthy and exercise is a great combination for your well-being in general. Another thing I would say is getting enough sleep. And I know that's really difficult for anyone who's gone through uni. That for like coming up to exam time, you may not get enough sleep, but it's really important to make that a priority when you can. I know that some other activities go on, like socializing activities, but ensure that you get enough sleep so that you can actually be productive during the entire day. And in terms of mental well-being, I would say it's as important as physical health. University can be a very exciting time, but it can also be a challenging time for some people. So it's really important that you are self-aware of yourself, of how you thrive, and maybe in areas that you don't thrive in, and ensure that you unwind and reflect at the end of the day. Ensure that when there are times that there will be stressful times, you having exams or competitions or whatever it is, ensuring that you really schedule in some time to unwind and reflect. And if it does become really, really stressful and things become a bit too much, then it's important to actually take advantage of the university's counseling resources and services, or just simply going to a trusted lecturer and letting them know if things are getting too much in terms of coursework, or just personal things that you're able to kind of share with them. In terms of balancing, you know, uni and part-time work or internships, or any way, you know, that it works for you, I would say that you need to be very, very organized, because there'll be a lot of things taking your attention if you're working part-time. So my experience during uni, I actually worked for about three years within the NHS while I was studying, and it was really, really stressful, and I didn't realize how stressful it was, because as soon as lectures finished, I was hopping on 2 buses to get to the hospital. And you know, you before you take on part-time work, it's very important to kind of understand how you can manage things, and understand that, okay, maybe I can only work for 6 months or in half of the school year, and then the next half I have to focus on my exams. So that's something to take into consideration. Number one, how you can manage your workload. If you're an organized person, if your employer is going to be, if your employer can support you when it's time for exams, or when your workload becomes too much. So ensuring that your employment is very flexible during the time that you're studying, and ensuring that you are organized and you know yourself and you know your limits. So that's my advice. I hope I answered well enough. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, Victoria. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, you've really spoken well. Being very organized is one of the key ways we can maintain our health, be it physical, you know, mental or emotional. And just like you rightly said, it's also very important that we use the university services. You know, you've paid, the school fees has already been paid for you to enjoy those services. So why don't you use the counseling service when you have the opportunity to? So yeah, that was well said. Thank you so much, Victoria. I'll call on Awini just now. Awini, I have a question here for you. You know, communication in university is, or in life generally, is an important part of relationship building, and it's also essential. It's also an essential part of healthy partnership. I just wanted to speak to the freshers about making the most of their university experience through effective communication and engagement with their lecturers, students, and other members of the university community. Awini, please.
Sorry, bear with me. Oh, apologies, I had my Alexa talking to me there. So yeah, communication, especially heading in as a new student first year, it's one of the more daunting things you have to deal with, because so many students are starting at the same time. It's difficult for, I guess, staff and other students to make sure everyone's covered. So you kind of have to advocate for yourself in that sense. There's a certain level of forced confidence you have to not show, but you kind of have to push yourself to be proactive in communicating with people. So I think someone mentioned earlier speaking to lecturers, I think it was Mateen, but yeah, most lecturers, especially at the start of a lecture series, they will introduce themselves and they'll say how they like to be contacted. They'll say, email me, give me a call, or come and approach me after a lecture. But it's important to take note of that, because there's going to be a point that you don't understand something and that you've spent your time to try and figure it out, and you'll still be struggling. So make sure you make use of the lecturers and the staff. Another thing I would say is, I guess maybe it might be a bit different in the collegiate universities. So for me personally, I found it relatively easy to make friends in different years that were also doing my course, because obviously within the college you have different years of different subjects. So for me, I knew who was doing engineering in the year above me. But otherwise, I would say it's good to get, that's why it's really good to get involved in clubs, societies, and I guess just try and find a bubble, not even a bubble, but a certain group of people or person that you'll be able to go to with any questions. Lecturers are helpful, but I know firsthand how daunting it is to approach them. So if you find it easier to speak to another student, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. And yeah, maybe even creating study groups with people that you're doing group projects with. But yeah, I think just find an initial base and kind of like spread your feelers until you find who you're comfortable with. I guess another, as well as lecturers, there's so many different sets of people you can get involved with outside of university. It's kind of linking back to what a few people have said as well about making sure you're involved in extracurriculars so that you're not bogged down with all the work. One thing that I did when I was at university, luckily one of my friends brought me in, but I did a tutoring program with a local primary school. And do you know what, these are, when I think about it now, I'm thinking these are things that can be really easily set up. You can literally just approach them, and they love having university students come to them and say, okay, we're happy to help this evening or this many evenings a week. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things that helps you keep your mind right so that you're able to take some time away from work and then come back refreshed. And yeah, I think that's probably one of the more helpful things I found. On another aspect of communicating with your flatmates, we're going back to shared accommodation here as well. Yeah, you will share kitchens, you will share bathrooms, and it will be frustrating because people have very different habits that you'll come to find. So I would say in that case, it's also really important to set your own boundaries. If you don't like people using your cutlery, keep it in your bedroom and wash it after you finish your food and take it back with you so you don't get annoyed. There's no crossing of lines, and yeah, it's good for you to protect your own space. So yeah, in terms of communication, overall I would say you need to be proactive and don't leave it too late. If you're struggling, it's important to let someone know, use the university resources, talk to your lecturers, because yeah, worst comes to worst, you take a break from university. Like I left at the start of my third year. I decided, you know what, I need a break. I'm going to take my third year out. So I took a break from university and came back the following year, and I felt so much more refreshed for it. And I would say, just don't be afraid to take those things. Don't feel like you're a failure, because everyone's going to have those really deep dips in life, and the only way to get out of a bad situation is to step back, and you will get better. There's no other way to go. So yeah, I would say don't be afraid to acknowledge that you're struggling, and yeah, be vocal about it, do something.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Awini. That was fantastic. Just like you said, it's really important for us to be proactive, about communication. Absolutely be proactive about it. Don't wait for people to come up to you. Just take that challenge and go to them and say, hello, how are you? And you know what? From there, you're making very great connections. You can never tell where you meet those people in the future, and you can never tell how they'll be of help to you. So just go out there, be proactive, make new friends, and just enjoy the ride. And just like you said, create boundaries. If you know you don't want some certain things to be done, let people know how you feel about them, and they will stop. And perhaps if they don't stop, then you know what exactly to do next. I'll just call on Dami. Dami, there's actually a saying that goes this way: all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and all play and no work makes Jack a failure. So I just want you to advise the freshers on how they can create a balanced university social life whilst studying, managing different social activities, managing their time, managing their financial resources, during school hours as well as after school. So Dami, we'll just over to you, please.
Thank you very much. For me, I represent my university in football, and that was on Wednesdays. So if we do the maths of the whole thing, so we've got university lectures and everything all the way throughout the week, and one afternoon a week is sports. Fully dedicated, people come out, watch it and everything. In the same way, I think that's where you should approach it. There's a time to play and there's a time to work. It's important that we be able to delineate between working and playing. And when we do whichever one, we do it with all our energy. For me, I was also working. I worked through the whole time I was in university, and I was selling suits. I was worked in TM Lewin, and I learned a lot about myself there as well. Being able to speak to members of the public, people older, younger, that required a service from me, understanding their needs and providing what they need. So that's an aspect of me that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't work. So there's time for that. Also, there's benefits to that. Playing football, leading people, meeting other people you've never met before, competition, realizing how much competition you have within yourself. These are all parts of it, but at the same time, work is work. As I said before, I went through a very convoluted route to gain a university degree. I played, and I played very well in high school. I was very unserious in my life, so I had to go through college. Obviously, when you go through college, my parents had certain expectations. They weren't particularly happy about that. Me, myself, I was like, oh God, what have I done? So I sat up. I really, put work into it. I really pushed myself, did well. But then I lapsed back after I finished college, and I was very complacent, as Tosin said earlier, and it was a mess. I failed my first attempt at university, woefully, very, very woefully. And that snapped me back into sense again. I realized that really and truly, there's a difference. You have to find the difference. You have to find yourself, find for yourself how to balance work, social, and university, or university, social, and work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dami. That was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you just said something that really touched my heart. You've said it again and again, you said it previously when you introduced yourself, and you said it again now, talking about how you discover yourself. So uni is not just about gaining academic qualifications, but you also tend to discover yourself. And that's one of the importance of social life in uni. It helps you to discover yourself. And through the same process, you also learn different interpersonal skills, such as organizational skills, and teamwork, and so on and so forth, which Dami had earlier mentioned. So that was really, really fantastic. Thank you so much to our speakers. You have been so brilliant. Thank you so much for that very insightful and revealing discussion. I'll just ask Miriam if there are any questions in the chat box, and if you could just read them out for our speakers to answer.
So we have a question.
Okay.
This is a general question. So the question is, how do you go about adding to your CV? Joanna, would you like to allocate that question to one of the panelists?
Okay, I'll call on Awini to answer that question, please.
Okay, your CV. Ooh. So your CV, I think at different points in your life, it needs to show different things. So for example, for me now, on my CV, I don't have like all of my university societies that I was a part of, and all the extracurriculars that I did. They're not on my current CV because it's not as relevant for what I'm looking for at this stage of my career. But back during university, and when you're looking at applying for jobs, what I would say is, okay, it's a hard balance here, because we've got, on one side of things, you want to show that you're a well-rounded person, you want to show all the things you've done. But on the second hand, you've also got to get those grades, you've also got to spend time on working at university. So one, find your time balance well. Two, make sure, I think Victoria mentioned this, I'm not sure, sorry, correct me if I was wrong, but make sure that you do the extracurriculars that invigorate you and that you are passionate about, because those are things that are going to make up your CV for starters. as well as, I guess, going through different modules. You're going to have, if you want, you can have your module marks on your CV. You can explain the modules that you've chosen if you have elective modules in any of your courses. But yeah, feel free to expand on those things and also put like a quick 1-line, 2-line explanation of how you've gone above and beyond for that specific module. Yeah, it's quite difficult to fill up a CV when you have no experience, but first having your university modules and then having your extracurriculars and any extra skills that you just want to learn, even if it's picking up an online course somewhere. There are a ton of different things that you can find and add to your CV. So yeah, I would say skills and extracurriculars as well as your modules. Those are the things I would think to add.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Awini.
Thank you. The next question is, how important is it to make friends with students in the years above you?
Okay, I'll call on Dami to answer that question, please.
Yeah, so I think it's very important if you're able to, even just approach them, or you find sometimes you're actually in classes with people in the year above you, and that's a perfect opportunity to speak to them. Why? Experience. They have experience. They've done what you've done before. They could show you certain pitfalls that they fell foul to, or even things they didn't fall foul to. They could give you experience on how to do it better than they did. So definitely, where possible, reach out to people in the year above you, and they are fantastic resource, sometimes better than teachers.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Miriam, have you got any other questions, please? All right.
Can I add to the CV question? Fiona.
Hello. Yes, please. Go ahead, please.
I was also going to say, I think Obini's really right that you have to sort of cater to what you work, to where you are in your stages of life. But I think what you'll also find is a lot of engineering internships and placements put a lot of emphasis on your cover letter, which goes with your CV. And I think one of the biggest pitfalls students make is that they spend time really tailoring the CV and not so much time on the cover letter. And actually, what I found gave me the most success when applying for placements and stuff is to have a CV that's kind of tailored to engineering, that's quite general, but then your cover letter should have, why do you want to work for that company? What have you researched about that company? What are the projects that you're really interested in that they do that you would love to be a part of? What is it about their culture that made you write the application in the first place? What experiences have you got that tick off their job spec that they've written down? And I think in a recruitment process, when places are so competitive, a really good cover letter that kind of ticks off all the things that a recruiter is looking for makes you, it makes it easier for them to say that's someone I would like to call to interview. And a lot of the time, the first step of the application is them sifting through to figure out who to call to interview. And then at the interviews, them figuring out whether they really like you and want to hire you. So yeah, I'd also say put some emphasis on your cover letter.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. It's one thing to write the CVs, and yes, your cover letter actually speaks more for you, but because it's like your voice speaking in written form about you. And so they begin to feel a little bit more about you. And yeah, I think that's a very good point. Thank you so much for that answer. Miriam, have we got any other questions?
Yeah, I would say being organized in terms of having something physical that you can actually look at to organize your time. So it can be maybe like a physical calendar, or having something digital, or even putting reminders on your phone to just make sure that you're actually, during the day, okay, I need to study for 3 hours. You put on an alarm at 3 o'clock and an alarm at 6 o'clock to ensure that you've done your 3 hours. Just blocking out time during the week or during the month to ensure that you're hitting your goals and you know where you need to be, when you need to be there. And also in terms of planning as well, is actually prioritizing what is important. So I'm sure as a student, you, like similar to what Damia said, you have to choose between your lectures and work and socializing. So prioritizing what needs to be done in the day. So should I wake up early in the morning and do 3 hours of reading, or do I need to sleep for an extra 3 hours because I went out last night? So just prioritize your time basically, and know what is more important and what can wait till later. That will really help in your time management as well. So 2 tips: ensure that you have a physical or digital time management tool. And 2, ensure that you're prioritizing what is important and what is not and what can wait till later.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much. Priority is really important for everyone, most especially to freshers. Miriam, have we got any other question? We'll just take one more and that's it for now.
Okay. Hope you can hear me. The final question is, do you have any tips on making lecture notes, i.e., should we use pen and paper, tablet, laptop, or a mixture? Did you hear that?
Yeah, could you just ask the question again, please?
Do you have any tips on making lecture notes, i.e., should we use pen and paper, tablet, laptop, or a mixture?
All right, fantastic. I'll call on Martin to answer that question for us.
So when I went and then did my bachelor's, I used a pen and paper method, and I thought that would work for me. What I always found is that I would lose that paper. And so they would be redundant of me having written all those notes, having spent 2 hours in a lecture and then having lost it. Or it wouldn't be filed in the right folder, and I'd find it, after the exam had taken place. I think what I did in my master's is I used a laptop. I had the lecture slides in front of me, and I could immediately sort of edit the words in the slides. I could write down all the sort of lecturer was saying, and I could save that file immediately. There's no need to sort of file it away. It was in my documents and easy to access, so that when I go through it in revision, I've got those notes to hand, and I can see if there are any sort of important definitions. Perhaps there are words that I've written that I need to be aware of this. And sometimes even lecturers, they give sort of cheeky comments about what could potentially be in the exam paper. And if you've got a sort of comment to yourself saying, be aware this could be an exam question, that would be really helpful. But if you write it on a pen and paper, you're not going to know what slide you're on, what sort of lecture you're on, and it will be confusing. You may find it in the end, but it will just be confusing. So I really recommend using sort of tablets or a laptop. I found that really, really helpful for myself. I'm not sure whether others would disagree.
Thank you so much for that answer. It's really a relevant answer you've given there. And just to add to what Martin has said just now, we could actually explore the use of notebooks, alongside with the laptops and mobile devices, using a notebook, that has a back, so that we don't have leaflets flying around here and there, just like Martin has said. Having a notebook was very, very useful for me when I studied. So yeah, thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much for this insightful discussion. But just before we leave, I just want you all to give us a final advice in half a minute of your final advice, basically, to the freshers. Just a final charge. And I'll start with Awini, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's been a really great session to sit in on. Final piece of advice. I think it's just, don't be disheartened. I think, as you can see from every single one of us, we've all had a negative experience when it comes to our careers and our university lives. So things always work out in the end, whether you see it or not. I think, just don't be discouraged. And know you're not alone. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Tosin, please.
So I think what I'd say is make sure you just explore and try new things. Because I think university is kind of like a mini version of the world. You have the international students, you have people that are home students, you have loads of different things to do. So I think it's just really important to build connections, explore. It's a great chance to come out your comfort zone, and you have responsibility, but I think it's the only time really you don't have too much responsibility. So I think it's the best time to really just grow as a person.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tosin. Victoria, please.
I would say enjoy your time at university. Like really treasure the time that you have to meet new people, to have fun, to grow, to expand, as well as ensure that you have a good support system of friends or study buddies to help you throughout your degree. And while you're in university, also try and prepare for the future by using resources available to you and going the extra mile to gain practical experience, or even seeking out a mentor who can kind of guide you into getting your foot into the door first, and also guide you into how you can actually progress in your career. And probably final thing is that just to remember that it's really important to be able to apply the knowledge that you acquire. And yeah, just to keep that at the back of your mind, that sometimes you may have get a degree, but you may not work in that sector, but it's the knowledge, it's the skills that you've learned from university that can help you in anywhere that you decide to go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Victoria. I'll call on Dami just now.
For me, I would say that be self-aware. Learn about yourself. You're learning about your subjects, you're learning about people around you, you're learning how to interact with the world. Ultimately, learn about yourself, what you like, what you don't like. As Tosin said, learn new things. Try new experiences. It's a perfect time to make mistakes. If you do make a mistake, it won't be... hopefully, it won't be as bad as it could be later in life. So it's a perfect time to really explore and learn about yourself. So yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Florian, please.
I would say, take every opportunity that you can, even if it does scare you a little bit. And I think echoing what a lot of us are saying is that nothing is really a failure if you learn from it. So sometimes you just have to pick up those things that you think you might not be able to do. But also learn to say no, learn to be firm with your boundaries, because that's something that you will take with you for the rest of your life and into the rest of adulthood. So yeah, that would be my key advice.
Amazing, amazing. And last but not the least, Martin.
I would just say be proactive in your university life, in anything. So if there's a sort of question in a lecture that you have, don't be afraid to ask that question. Don't wait till months down the line. Be proactive in extracurricular activities. Try and learn more about yourself, and most importantly, use it as an opportunity to grow. And I think everybody said that in a roundabout way. So just use uni life as a way of growing and maturing and developing yourself and finding yourself, most importantly.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want us to unmute our mics and give a round of applause to all our panelists. They've shared so much insights today. Let's just thank them. Thank you so much, our panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you. So freshers, you're now empowered to win. So go out there to your universities, to your colleges, to that graduate apprenticeship program and excel. Wow, fantastic. I'll call on Miriam just now to share a video with us. That video basically is talking about transition, which is one of the arms of AFB, which I had earlier mentioned. And basically, transition is made specially for students to empower them and prepare them for professional work. So we have in the transition different career and employability programs going on, as well as insights into real engineering or real industrial projects going on. And so you gain some information and useful knowledge about those real projects going on in the industry, how to solve those problems, because you might meet those questions at interviews and you might meet those questions in the workplace. So that's for transition, and you have real life projects working together with transition. So Miriam will just play that video just now for us.
Because I'm studying biochemical engineering, I've learnt that despite my degree is so niche, I can still apply for graduate roles in other sectors because of the transferable skills that I have from my degree.
Always prepare. That preparation will get you further than your degree will ever will.
It's actually good to see a bridge linking the industry experts and the students.
I would advise any other person to come to one of these days.
I hope that they take away today the fact that they can achieve whatever they set their minds to do, and even if it's working in the engineering industry in the job of their choice, then they can achieve that too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Miriam, for playing that video. Miriam will just share with us as well a couple of email addresses that you could actually write to if you want to join AFB transition teams in England and Scotland. But I also welcome all the freshers and other students who are joining us today to become members of AFB as student members. So we'll be glad to have you around, and there are loads of benefits to it. You have the transition and real life projects, events that we hold. We also have networking opportunities where you will get to meet people who are working in industry. They can advise you. Some of them can even let you know when there are openings in their companies and so on and so forth. So there are lots of benefits associated with becoming an AFB student member. So with that said, I would quickly call on everybody to give a toast. So we just want to quickly toast to the success of our freshers. So let's raise our glasses if you've got your glasses there. Have we all got our glasses? Yes, fantastic. So we just want to wish you all the freshers, want to wish you excellence in your schoolwork. We want to wish you great health, wisdom, understanding, the right knowledge, the right friends and contacts, lifelong contacts. Want to wish you well in the way you manage your finances, your time and opportunities. We also wish that you have excellent grades and a grand CGPA as you progress from year to year in your chosen courses, and even the best in the future as you go on to get your jobs and maybe start up your businesses. So we wish you all the best to all the freshers. Well done, and excel in your different courses. Fantastic. Good. And to all our freshers from AFB UK, Making Engineering Hot program and NextGen program, we want to say to you, never give up until you win. We also want to use this opportunity to thank Dr. Nike Folayon and Dr. Oli Folayon, our co-founders, for all the smart work you've been doing behind the scene to ensure that this event takes place. So we thank you so much for your effort, and for every other person who has worked with us. We are so grateful. We're grateful to the Making Engineering Hot team, as well as all the members of the NextGen team for all your contributions. So thank you so much. I want to thank you again, our wonderful panelists, for sharing your experiences. That was really, really good. And we thank you so much because our freshers have been empowered today to excel at uni, in college, and at their graduate schemes. To all our attendees, I want to thank you for honoring our invitation, and we want to thank you again for attending this event. We hope you have enjoyed it. We hope you have learned one or two things. And so from everyone at AFB UK, I'll just say bye-bye for now. Bye.